Hello, Meoni here, and welcome back to another video. This time we're looking at the live letter part 46. These are the keynotes for the breakdown of everything that was talked about. And of course, I'm going to try and keep this as short and snappy as possible, but there's quite a lot of information to take in, so obviously it's going to take a while to read through it. So first of all, the live letter kicks off saying there are over 18 million adventurers worldwide. That's based on the accounts created so far, which is obviously quite a large number. The Square Enix CEO says that he would like to see the game up to 30 million adventurers worldwide, and Yoshi comments whether or not that's even possible. So now onto the actual content. So first of all, they say patch 5.18 will be coming. This will actually be released December the 24th. This isn't an April Fool's joke. This will be a patch on Christmas Eve. In 5.18, the Tombstone weapon upgrades will be available from the coins from the Nier Automata raid, and there will also be the removal of weekly restrictions on Eden and Eden Savage. Also with this, Season 14 of the Feast begins, and all of that is on December the 24th. So then we move on to the slides all about patch 5.2. And this patch will be called Echoes of a Fallen Star. Yoshi says to focus on the word echo as it relates to Heidelin's Echo in particular. This will be wrapping up the final stages of the Shadowbringers saga. This will be released sometime mid-February, as was predicted previously, 2020. This will feature new main storyline, as you would imagine. They show one image here which is a little bit cryptic, which seems to show Ardbert, and they question whether or not this is actually him or not. Other than the main storyline, there will be a new instance dungeon in this patch, Anamnesis Anida, which will be trust system compatible. They also say here that moving forward through Shadowbringers, one dungeon will be added with every patch. They say the reason for this scale down in dungeons coming to the game is due to the enormous amount of dungeons already in the game, and they want to put their costs into other aspects of it. There will also be a new beast tribe in 5.2 known as the Qatari. They will focus on gathering and crafting specifically. And as you can see here on this image, this is actually one of the Qatari, which you might be familiar with these dudes. So speculation as to what the mount may be probably starts now. They showed a slide here which didn't really have much sort of explanation for it, but there's new chronicles of a new era quest added in 5.2 called The Sorrow of Weirlight, and it seems to show Gaius being confronted by some other people here, these Aura, and those chronicles of a new era quests will take place from where Estinian destroyed the facility seen in 5.1, so presumably this is a set of side quests following his adventures. Next up, we have the unveil of a brand new trial known as Ruby Weapon and Ruby Weapon Extreme. There will also be a third difficulty mode of this trial that they're not currently wanting to reveal until the actual patch notes just before the patch goes live. So there will be a third difficulty to this trial, which is quite an interesting concept that they've certainly not floated before. Along with this trial in 5.2, we're getting the next chapter of the Eden raid, known as Eden's Verse. They show this picture here, and they say, is this Ramuh related? It's time for the Warrior of Light's imagination to come forth. They say to think what comes to mind when you think of Ramuh. He says, will there be orbs? Who knows? Next up, we get a black slide that says a new quest series for upgradable equipment, a new adventure begins. This then is talking about the next Relic Quest. They say currently it's completely top secret. However, they do say, based on previous feedback from Eureka, this will be independent and individual content. This, however, will be themed around the Bozjar Citadel, which apparently is the home of the Hrothgar. So presumably this content takes place in the source and not the first, otherwise they wouldn't have used Hrothgar, but that's just obviously speculation. They say also in 5.2 there will be job adjustments, including those two ninja. They're not having any information on that currently, as well as PvP updates and actions for PvP being adjusted. Next up, they talk about the Ishgard restoration. They show a before and after picture of the current restoration, which looks pretty damn cool. And then they talk about Diadem's reintroduction, and it's redesigned entirely for crafters. After reaching level 10, they say, can enter the firmament with no ceruleum costs for Diadem. They can then gather items to help towards that restoration process. It will also feature gathering whilst moving from island to island, and there will no longer be any attackable enemies. They do say in addition to the Sky Builders items, you can also use this as a way to level experience for your gatherers over time. There's also this extra sort of meter. Apparently they charge this gauge inside by gathering. This is called the Epheromatic Auger. This apparently once filled will allow you to use it in creatures in the wild to gain additional items, which is obviously quite interesting. For the Ishgard restoration, there will be now new expert recipes. With these will be new collectible items around the world to be gathered, and they will be added to the game. Expert recipes will actually trigger statuses other than just poor, good, and excellent. The gameplay will focus on utilizing these new statuses, and it will be key to increasing item quality for these new recipes. There will also be the Kupo of Fortune. This is a new scratch-off sort of scratch card ticket system to get rewards. These tickets will be then used to get different items, and there's also a ranking system in the game for the gathering and crafting now. This system will have ranks based on your own contribution towards the Ishgard restoration. There'll be separate ranking ladders for both gatherers and crafters, and they say the rankings will be calculated 10 days after the content comes out because they don't want to make it too long. It will be focused, they say, however, on completely hardcore crafters. These rankings will be displayed on the Lodestone page with special rewards and titles, so think PvP, but then replace that with crafting, and you're pretty much on the same route. Crafting gets quite a significant amount of revamps, actions are being adjusted once again, and a new feature to estimate the effects of your next action used is being added to crafting. They say it will also be easier to desynth stacked items, and the party requirement for company crafting is being removed from the game, so you no longer need people to help you advance an airship part, for example, which is sure to save you some time. This picture actually shows the proposed skill simulator. This will make it clear what things will actually do and what RNG you might have on using an action before actually using it, which is obviously quite useful. Fishing changes, patience, precision hook set, powerful hook set, all got their action required level reduced. The fish tugging animations will be made much easier to distinguish whilst you're fishing, and there's also a new all-purpose lure being added to make it easier to switch between bait without having a bag full of it. With this, there are also sky steel tools being added to the game. These are actually a new form of gameplay, they explain, and is basically a relic for crafters. It gets upgraded over the course of multiple patches with quests and specific items to enhance them during that storyline. Materia system changes are coming, with equipment being no longer lost when creating materia, so you can actually spirit bond a piece of gear inside of a dungeon, for example, turn it into materia, and then you actually keep the gear and it resets the spirit bond, meaning you don't have to keep going and purchasing and equipping the same item as you usually would for spirit bonding materia. Crafter class requirements for putting materia into gear is also now gone, so any crafter can meld any materia as long as they are the correct level for that piece of gear. Next up, they talk about Fisher exclusive content. This one's got me very hyped. This introduces ocean fishing. They say board a ship to enjoy fishing on the high seas at specific times in game. You get scripts and experience based on the fish you actually catch during this, and meeting certain conditions whilst aboard the boat will grant all passengers the chance of a big haul. So that sounds quite exciting. I love these little things that they add to the game. It really brings the whole thing to life for me, so that's definitely got me hyped. So then there's some miscellaneous changes. There is a new form of Allegan Tombstone in 5.2. The New Game Plus mode gets new chapters, so presumably the A Realm Reborn quests, which have been so far omitted that they've been working on. There's also a rank increase for Grand Companies with new rewards. Fellowships will be viewable on the Companion app on your mobile, which is useful for my events. And umbrellas are being added in this patch. They are being added to the game for for use in wet weather conditions. There's more details to come on that, and the developers are having a tough time implementing them, but they wanted to add them for roleplay purposes, so that's quite exciting. And that was the end of part 1, which was all the main focus of what's coming in 5.2. The second half was a Q&A section with Masayoshi Soken, and that will be omitted from this breakdown completely because that's a lot more casual and probably doesn't relate to all of your interests. If there is interest, I will do a separate video on that Q&A session, but that's pretty much it for all of the things coming in 5.2. So get hyped. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you all next time.